Hey everybody, Caitlin here. I am the nutritionist at ProPush Fitness and I study nutritional science at BYU. Some of you may have met me during a nutritional consultation over Zoom, but now I'm getting on here to make a video getting started with our nutrition clinic for the week. Our first topic for today is talking about macronutrients, and this is really going to set the tone for the rest of the week. This is a lot of the foundational knowledge that you need to understand the principles that we're going to talk about later on. So, nutrients. Nutrients are the building blocks of everything that we eat. It's actually a term used to describe the literal molecules that make up all of the food around us. And the two different categories of nutrients are macronutrient and micronutrient. So a macronutrient, by definition, is a molecule that provides your body with energy. And also it is essential, meaning that your body does not function optimally if it's deprived of that nutrient. Micronutrients are actually just vitamins and minerals. An important distinction is that they don't provide your body with energy in the chemical sense, but they are essential for a lot of other processes. So the video after this will explain a little bit more about that. For now, let's discuss the macronutrients. So there are three different types. And these are protein, carbohydrates, and lipids, also known as fats. It is important to point out the different types because of how differently your body utilizes each one. So each individual macro, protein, carbohydrates, and fat, is going to be broken down, absorbed, digested, and utilized by your body in a slightly different way via the gastrointestinal system. This is actually largely due to their chemical shape. So I thought that it would be beneficial just to look at an actual image of a chemical representation of these different molecules. So this is an image of a glucose molecule. As you can see, glucose is a type of carbohydrate, and this is just a way that biochemists represent it. So now I'll show you an image of a lipid or a fat. So this is an image of the chemical structure of two different types of lipids, both saturated and unsaturated. And then lastly, I'll show you an image of a type of protein or amino acid. This is known as alanine. So, now this is not a chemistry lesson. I promise it'd be way more boring if it was. But you don't have to be a chemist to understand that all of those images looked so different. The way that those different nutrients are represented shows that their shape is different, which is going to have a lot to do with the way that your body breaks it down because of their different shape. And also the fact that they're made of different atoms and different substances. So it's just important to keep that in mind. So now let's go over each one. So protein is made up of amino acids, as I mentioned earlier, and is therefore vitally important in the process of creating enzymes. Enzymes drive every single chemical reaction in your body, and this is happening constantly. So that's a really huge demand of protein. It's really important that we get enough of it, especially because it's also used to build and repair tissues in your body, including muscle. So that's why protein is so vital. Protein is usually found in animal products like meat, fish, and poultry, but it can also be found in beans and legumes. Okay, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the preferred energy source of your body, not just to carry out normal processes, but especially when you put stress on your body via exercise. Carbohydrates are also the preferred energy source of the central nervous system. So without a consistent intake of carbohydrates, a lot of bodily processes start to fail. And that's not to say that you can't go without carbohydrates for a certain time, but if you remember, the definition of a macronutrient is that it is essential. So at some point, your body is going to need to be replenished of that energy source, especially carbohydrates. So carbohydrates primarily come from plants. So this includes grains and starches or root vegetables, like potatoes or things of that nature. That's usually what carbohydrates come from. Now you're kind of thinking, well, I've always heard that sugar is a carbohydrate, and that's because sugar is a simpler form of a larger carbohydrate. So usually in the form of glucose or sucrose is how you're going to interact with sugar. And in everyday life, that usually just comes up as common table sugar or other added sweeteners. So, okay, the last macronutrient category is fats. So fats are actually the most calorically dense of the macronutrients, which makes them a really great candidate for storage. So this allows your body to have insulation, which is essential for temperature regulation. And it's also a layer of protection around your vital organs. So all of the organs in your body, a lot of them have layers of fat around them and is super important. Fats are also an energy source that your body can take from if your energy is really depleted. So that's important too. So fats are found in both plant and animal products, but some of the best sources are nuts, seeds, yogurts, cheese, milk, avocados, or fish. So there's a lot of research that supports that a balanced macronutrient diet is very beneficial for the general population. A lot of the problems that people experience with their health and with their weight is actually stems from the fact that their diet leans too heavily towards one macronutrient over another, especially within the American diet where processed sugars and fats are so prevalent, especially in fast food and just the way that most people commonly eat. Okay, so this is a lot of information, but don't feel overwhelmed. The most important thing to remember is that different foods are made of different things. So understanding this allows you to eat a little bit more consciously. And I would invite you going forward to look at whatever meal you're about to eat and try and identify the macros present in what you're eating. This awareness will help you work on kind of your sixth sense of food. And later in the week, we'll talk about how to use this as a tool to eat consciously throughout your whole life.